Hello and welcome to the next episode of Cracking Rich Code, the podcast. And I am your absolutely delighted to be here host, John Verico. I love doing this show because I get to meet and chat with some of the most amazing people on the planet. And today's guest is no exception. Let me tell you, you're going to absolutely be enamored by Cynthia Newman. She is an executive coach. She's founder of Success Strategists Executive Coaching and is the board chair for the Seeds of Change Foundation. We're going to learn a little bit about that when we get into it. She has written a chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 17, and let's get her in here to talk about that. So everybody, please welcome Cynthia Newman. There you are, Cynthia. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm better than good. How's that?
Terrific.
Hey, there are so many wonderful people out there doing so many wonderful things. And I just recently learned about, what Seeds of Change is. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into this discussion. But first, let's kind of start things off with kind of who is Cynthia Newman and what is it that you do out there? I know, I introduced you as an executive coach, but you have a very, very unique niche of the kinds of people that you work with. So let's talk a little bit about that first.
So the individuals I work with really are in financial services. And I started in financial services when I was 21 years old and have basically...
last week.
Yes, last week. I basically sat in the seat. So I started as a staff member and then became a financial advisor. I was a training manager. I was a branch manager. I was a regional director. So I have a breadth of experience in, I want to say, climbing the corporate ladder, because that is basically what I did. And it's never a straight line. And never a straight line. And there's always challenges and opportunities. And I wrote the chapter because I wanted to communicate that it's not a straight line, that there are seasons almost, and how you navigate through those seasons in order to basically get to your goal, right? And how you have those different stages.
Now, your chapter, and it was in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 17, is called, there it is, A Life Shaped by Challenges and Opportunities.
Yes.
That is an intriguing title right there. So,
well, it's true, because anybody who's really worked in a corporate environment understands that you are constantly learning and then dealing with different individuals. So it's challenging. I mean, when you're young, you're almost naive to the different people that you're going to work with, right? And learning how to manage up and to navigate the different corporate levels and the interesting people that you meet and how the environment around you changes. So I moved from New York to Los Angeles when I was 24 years old, and I was a financial advisor. And just that change alone was overwhelming because it was so culturally different. And then navigating...
very different. New York is different than any place else, and LA has got its own environment.
And the people are different.
Yes.
I mean, it's truly the people, and I found LA to be very transient in a way, and I really grew up in New York, and New Yorkers are very grounded. So that was very interesting. And then I talked about it in my book, The Challenges, because I was so young and I looked like I was 15 and trying to build a business around finance and having individuals trust you was difficult.
I can imagine that. Sure.
And then I was able to navigate through it, and I was successful, and I was a financial advisor for 20 years. It was phenomenal. At that point, I became a little bored, and then I transitioned into management. And then you start all over again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a whole different world when you start going up to those levels. Real quick, just backtrack a bit. What attracted you to the financial world?
Well, to be honest with you, I kind of fell into it. I graduated college. My parents told me I needed to get a job, and I was fortunate enough to be introduced to someone at Merrill Lynch, and that's when I became a sales assistant. And I
Wow.
did that about a year, and I realized I could do this and I can do this better. And so I started learning sales. And I was very fortunate because at the time I was surrounded by some exceptional people, and they're the ones that really taught me the art of sales. And I don't think
And
I would have been successful without them.
that makes all the difference in the world. The people that you are around, people that you associate with, and that who mentor you or that you learn from, it can change your whole perspective.
Well, it changed everything. I mean, I was so fortunate. I mean, I feel so fortunate. I'm still friendly with those individuals today. It was a gift. And
I'm like that with
and
my the first chief petty officer I worked for in the Navy. We are still friends. He retired 40 years ago.
wow. It's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, to be able to have those deep relationships and to be able to be have the gratitude.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was pretty amazing. So I had I mean, I had a terrific 20-year career as a financial advisor. I brought my husband in, and he took over my book of business as a financial advisor as I transitioned into management. We worked together for about 3 years. That was interesting. Working with your spouse is a whole nother experience in itself. And to this day, he's very successful. He's a tremendous successful financial advisor. And I started through another 20, 25 years of being a manager. And and it was terrific. It was just there were so many challenges because there's no steady. So I worked at Morgan Stanley and we acquired Smith Barney. And Smith Barney was really running the West Coast, where Morgan Stanley was running the East Coast. It was really not a run because it was one firm, but
Right.
the leaders were from Smith Barney. And I had to learn how to navigate through being with a whole new set of individuals that didn't know me. And I had to learn the lesson because I was so successful, there was an ego associated with my position and my level of success. I started all over again because they
Yeah.
didn't know me. And I learned how to
Right.
go and re-interview for my job and to be able to communicate what I did is why I had my results. And so in my executive coaching that I'm doing now, there are really playbooks, and the playbooks work over and over again. The
Right.
individual is different that's executing the playbook and they're doing it in their way, but there's just things that you need to do and consistently do them as a leader, right? If you're a financial advisor, you have a team, you're a leader,
Right.
and you have your
Right.
staff, right? And you need to be able to direct traffic. You need to take the time to do your business planning. So that's currently what I'm doing now, if you still want to talk about the book.
Oh no, we're talking about. I mean, we have time so far. This
Okay.
goes really really fast, as you know, but no, we have time to hit on a couple of things. But you make some really really good points. The fact that no matter where you are, there are kind of certain things and certain functions that you have to do in order to be successful or to deal with things that are happening within the organization to keep the organization successful.
Mm.
And so you have kind of almost, I don't want to say templatized it for your clients. It sounds like is what I'm getting, is that you've come up with kind of these workbook kind of ways that people can improve their success levels.
No question about it. It's the consistency. And it really is time blocking and making sure you're executing each day. and understanding what you're trying to accomplish, and then holding yourself accountable or having someone such as myself to have that conversation, right? Because it's a change of behavior, right?
Yes.
You're going through different stages as you're growing your business, right? And then you have some bit of success and you kind of take a little back step, right? And it really is constantly checking in with yourself to make sure that you're still doing the behaviors that gave you all the success in the first place.
And sometimes we forget those things,
Oh,
those
we
those
leave them.
those basics as we move on. We're like, oh yeah, I don't need to do that anymore. Well, yes, you do.
Mm. And that is what happens. I mean, normally, um, so I really feel that some of these positions are very lonely. Right? And I always like to communicate to the person that I'm working with, like, look, everything you're going through, you can't necessarily speak to your mentor or your peers. And really depending, because I really do separate managers, financial advisors, and staff, because they're all different challenges, right?
Hmm.
As a manager, you really don't, you can have conversations with your peers, but your peers don't talk to you about self-awareness and what you need to do and how to manage up and make sure you're managing down, right? Everybody's fighting for their life to a certain extent. So I
Right.
love, love, love working with managers and helping them navigate through and for them to understand how important their brand is and the communication and leaving your ego at the door. Because that was one of my biggest lessons. I had to learn it over and over and over again. I mean, I still need to, it's one thing that I'm always working on to keep myself in check. Um, and then um, for the financial advisors, right? Again,
Wait, wait, go back
they're
go back to the manager go back to the manager level a bit there. So it sounds like you are, I mean, I'm sure you work with all levels of management, and there are people who've been
Mhm.
managers for a while, but it sounds like you really are hitting a sweet spot with those aspiring managers, those people who are or just getting into the management role and having to learn how to behave and think differently.
100%. I mean, people come to me because they're finding challenges, right? Whether they're not getting recognized for the work they're doing, they're not getting to the next level, they're taking on a new role and going through transition. And I again have another very set playbook about the 30, 60, and 90-day business plan, right? Which I had to
Yes.
learn the hard. I learned everything the hard way. So I'm really happy to communicate with people and repeat myself over and over again. You have to trust me, right? This is your moment. So there really is. And then I deal with very successful managers, right? That might have some issues that they're having with their staff or their team, or right. So it's team dynamics. Because I was very fortunate. I worked with an amazing team. In my last role, I always had great teams, but my really last role at Morgan Stanley, I had an amazing team. And we were all moving in the same direction, and then
Yeah.
it's
It's like
understanding.
magic when that
That's
happens.
right. I mean, I ultimately was responsible, but I loved having everybody's perspective. And I would tell them over and over again, I can't see behind my head. You have to tell me what I'm missing. So no one ever felt uncomfortable telling me something that I didn't want to hear, coming into my office if there was a problem or an emergency, right? I was always calm and was able to listen. So listening is one of the key factors for all positions in wealth
Yes.
management, right?
In
Um,
everywhere, and it's also one of the skills that it needs the most work for most people.
so I'm going to share a little secret. I became a phenomenal listener doing Bikram yoga.
Really?
But it's 90 minutes, it's very hot, and you could do 3 things. You can panic, you can check out, or you can listen. I chose the listening path. And I learned how to do all the poses. I've been doing it for almost 25 years, but it really helped me be able to be in the moment and be able to listen to the problem and calmly give a response. So I tell everybody that, and I don't really care what kind of yoga, whatever, go do something where you have to really listen for 60 minutes.
Ooh, I like that.
Mhm.
I'm writing that one
It's like a
down.
secret sauce. Yeah, it's really good. Anything. I mean, it doesn't matter because if you have to focus and listen, because in that class, you're moving, right? It's not like you're sitting in a seminar and you're trying to listen because you're wandering off, right? You're wandering off 90% of the time wherever you are, right? But in this particular class, it's really different. If you wander off, you're not getting the benefits. So listening, learning how to listen was one of the benefits.
You know, one of the things that I don't know if you've ever been in Toastmasters.
Mm,
But Toastmasters is
I know.
it's a public speaking thing, right? And everybody thinks, well, you go to learn how to speak, but there's leadership lesson learning in there and all kinds of stuff. One of the most important skills that happens there is that every prepared speech is evaluated, and the evaluators have to learn how to listen. And those are
Mhm.
rotating roles, so everybody gets the opportunity to really build that skill. But it's listening and feedback skills, and that has been probably one of the biggest benefits that I've gotten out of being involved with Toastmasters.
I suggest Postmasters to everybody. All my new financial advisors and my people in new positions who want to grow and learn how to do public speaking, I tell them to go to Toastmasters. I also tell them if they're in sales to go to a Dale Carnegie class.
Yep, that's true too. Yep, absolutely.
Both
Yeah,
of those are phenomenal.
and the big key to all of this is that you continue to learn.
Hmm.
So many times I see people think that they've gotten to the pinnacle, they know it all, they don't need any. Oh, like, okay, yeah, I went to Toastmasters, I did that. Done. No, no, did that. Been there, done that, sold the T-shirt kind of thing. No, you have to continuously learn throughout life, and so I started in Toastmasters back in 1986,
Hmm.
and
I,
on
I
and
understand.
off. I was have been in there for the whole 40 years, but on and off because sometimes like I moved around or wherever there wasn't a Toastmaster club nearby or whatever. But on and off, and I still do it. I'm a professional speaker. I still go and participate in Toastmasters because
I
you
couldn't
always
agree
you
more.
can never stop honing your skills.
I'm telling you, I was on the call with someone yesterday, and we were looking for a Toastmasters near them. I couldn't agree with you 100%, right? It's just, it absolutely, and it challenges you, right? So
Yes.
how do you become strong when you put yourself in extremely challenging positions and you're uncomfortable? And then comes the growth. And I say the same thing about sales. Look, you are going to sound foolish. It's going to take you a minute. But if you don't say it at all, you're never going to get comfortable. You have to find your voice, and you find it by doing Toastmasters. You find it by selling. You find it by speaking, by asking questions, right? And you train your mind to be able to peel that onion back when you're speaking with someone. Like you've become obviously very good at it because you do podcasts, right? Of pulling things out of people. And it's the same thing for a financial advisor when they're sitting with a client, right? To be able to know the questions to ask. It's all about, right, putting together your system and sticking with your system. And I actually write a newsletter monthly. And in my last newsletter, I actually mentioned about how from my grandfather, I learned that if you don't have a system, you pay a penalty. And so I'm always telling people you can change your system, but
What did your grandfather do for a living? Just out of curiosity.
oh, he was a real estate developer.
Okay.
But he's true. I mean, we use that in our house all the time. My children use it. I mean, you have to create systems for yourself, whether it's a system when you wake up in the morning, right? And the day seems overwhelming, right? Do you meditate? Do you exercise, right? Do you read? How do you prepare yourself for, to a certain extent, going to battle sometimes?
Yeah.
right? And it's not, I don't mean it as a negative. It means that our if you're working, your schedules are busy. If you're different stages of life, in your 20s, it's one thing, in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, right? And 70s on, and there's different behaviors that are associated with it. And understanding that and being cognizant of it, I think really helps you in the long run.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you said a magic word in there. You said busy. And I have learned, and it's taken me a long time to learn this, that busy is an acronym for basically underserving yourself.
Mhm. Mm. Mhm.
Because what
Mm.
happens is we wind up like overloading our schedule with stuff. We clutter our calendar with all these obligations, and we don't take the time, we don't have a system to take the time for ourselves so that we are able to function in all of this other busyness that we've added onto our lives.
100%. I mean, I constantly am telling people, look, you have to take that time, right? Whether you're working out, you have to take care of yourself, because if you're physically doing something, right, you're helping yourself,
Mhm.
right? There is a balance between, first of all, sitting all day long, right? And not getting up and moving. And then telling yourself that I'm going to work these hours and I'm going to leave. And it's really hard to hold yourself accountable. And that's why I
I
always go back to
failed
time
at
block.
that one so many times.
Well, because it's time blocking, right?
Sure.
Like
Yes.
you have to make it what's easy for you. So it's easier for a man to go to the gym and come back and be working, right? He can take that hour. It's harder for a woman, just because, we're a little vain, and we have our makeup, and we have to look perfect.
Yeah, but
So
I could never be one of those guys that goes to the gym, comes back to the office sweaty. I just
well, they have a time to take a shower. I mean, it takes you 5 minutes to take a shower, right? You're done, you're ready. And you're out, you're ready to go, right? And there are women that can do it. I was just not one of them. So I really needed to make sure I was scheduling. So I'd make sure that there was 2 days a week I was literally leaving and going and working out and leaving earlier in the day. Because my days were, 14, 16-hour days. They were not 9 to 5 in the least. There was always a dinner or an event or a networking or something that I needed to be doing.
I
And
don't remember the last 9 to 5 day I had.
right,
Even
it's
after I
just
retired from the day job, I still don't have
because
a
you're
9 to 5 day.
busy.
Right? Isn't that so true? Hey, by the
But
way, folks, if you're tuning in like this late in the program, you want to go and take this back to the start and play it. We are having a wonderful conversation with Cynthia Newman. Cynthia is an executive coach, and she wrote a chapter called A Life Shaped by Challenges and Opportunities in volume 17 of Cracking the Rich Code. And we've been talking all about these different types of things that go on and the kinds of work that she does with her clients, primarily in the financial industry, them to deal with various transitions in their life and in their career, and to kind of move up that corporate ladder and to create systems for themselves to make them be able to be successful at each rung of the ladder as they go through it. This has been a fantastic conversation. We still have more to talk about, but I always like to try to do a little transitional thing in there to let people know who we're talking to. And I realized I missed the halfway point because we've been having such a great conversation. I was too busy listening to do the stuff I was supposed to do. So I will say, check out Cynthia's chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 17. And definitely, we want to point people to your website too, by the way, which is successstrategists.com. By the way, that's not easy to say.
no.
Successstrategists.com. And that's how you can get to Cynthia's information about what she does and what she offers, and connect with her on LinkedIn. It's always a good thing to do. And that's probably one of the best ways to reach out to her. And you can find her under Cynthia Layden Newman on LinkedIn. And I say those things out loud because sometimes people are only listening to this and not watching it on YouTube. So I want to make sure that people can find it. But go back to the beginning, listen to this thing from the start, and let's get back to talk more about Cynthia. She's got some great advice that she's been providing for us to how we can take care of ourselves, how we can systemize our lives and our programs and our processes so that we can be more functional and be more successful. But there's a little piece that I don't want to miss talking about here, and that is Cynthia's benevolent side and the heart that this woman has, and that fact that she has found and made the time in her life to be able to do this. And that's the Seeds of Change Foundation. And could you take a few minutes to talk a little bit about that, Cynthia?
Sure. So we formed the Seeds of Change Foundation after we adopted our fourth child. So my first three children are biological. My fourth is adopted from Malawi, Africa. And we wanted to give back to the organization, the orphanage where he was adopted from. And what we did is we were contributing and helping them with food and training and the farming, because they do incredible with farming there, like amazing how it's organic farming, and it's way over my head, but it's incredible what they're doing. And then we were worried about the children not having enough places to play. So the first real project that we did is we built a soccer field there. And it was amazing, right? It was just a wonderful experience. And I started doing a little bit more fundraising, and we've built a playground in the United States. We fund tiny homes in Los Angeles for those that, are looking to transition from being homeless into having somewhat permanent housing. And we have given to, oh my God, the Go Red for Women, the American Heart Association, cancer, diabetes, everything. So it really was a labor of love. I formed it with two of my closest friends, and together we decide where the funds will go and what projects we want to see through.
And how do you go about raising those funds? What kinds of activities you do, or is it just donations?
It's pretty much just donations. I've done events at my home where people have come, and then we were fortunate to have the people that were running the orphanage. They came to visit to the United States. We did an event for them. So that was really nice that they were able to raise some extra funds that actually went directly to the orphanage. And really, that's it. I mean, it really comes from family, friends, people that meet us and want to contribute and see some of the projects. And I'll tell them if I'm doing a specific project, if they'd like to contribute.
That's just wonderful stuff. It really is. And that takes a special kind of person to do that, to be able to set aside the time, the energy, and the funds to be able to use them in these ways. And I'm just going to add the fact that it takes a special kind of person to adopt in the first place. But even more so, Cynthia, and you did not reveal this here on the show, you didn't say this, but the son that you adopted was not an infant. It was not even a toddler. He was pretty well grown by the time you had adopted him. And that is something that doesn't happen very often.
No, we call him a needle in a haystack. So what essentially happened is my oldest child was volunteering at the orphanage. And when we went to go visit, my fourth son really followed my third son around. And they were both about the same age. And from there, I wanted to understand his story. And then we took him out of the orphanage and put him in a private school. We did that for about a year. He came to the United States to spend 6 weeks with us. He went back, and the following summer, when he was going to come visit us, I said, wait, let's stop. We need to follow through. Malawi is a very poor country, and there aren't a lot of opportunities. And we really couldn't direct traffic for him. And he's done phenomenal. He's 27 years old now. He is a sergeant in the Army. We couldn't be more proud of his tenacity. He works really hard. English was as a second language. He came in when he was 13 years old. It was a real challenge for him to go from being completely dependent on the orphanage. And we don't really think about what that looks like, but it's just simple as making your first decision
Right.
to then functioning where you're responsible for all your actions and your future. So it's really it's an amazing story. We're so proud of him.
And you know what? I think we're all proud of you. Cynthia Newman is a just not only a font of really great information in the business world and in the financial world, but she's also a person with a great heart. Check her out. Read her chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 17. Go and visit her website, successstrategists.com, and connect with her on LinkedIn at Cynthia Layden Newman. Cynthia, it has been wonderful having you on the show. I'm so glad that you were able to get scheduled and so that we can do this. Is there anything else that you want to kind of leave our listeners with that they should know?
I would say two quick things. One, you're not alone. There are always people for you to speak with. If you need an executive coach, remember, I've said it over and over again in my chapter. I wish I had had an executive coach throughout my career. It would have helped me tremendously. That's number one. And number two, as you're climbing that ladder or the mountain, I say, remember to stop and appreciate the trees, the flowers, and the rivers.
I love it. Cynthia, thank you so much. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cracking the Rich Code podcast as much as I did. Check out Cynthia's chapter in Volume 17 of Cracking the Rich Code and visit her website and all that good stuff. It's in the show notes. And thank you again, Cynthia. Have a great day. And folks, stay tuned for the next episode.